It's our Europa League Final preview. Villarreal, Manchester United, all to play for in the Europa League Final. Jimmy Conrad with the betting tips, predictions, lineups, and Jonathan Johnson as well to give us the lowdown on everything from both clubs, how they got here as we get ready for the final on Wednesday. Qué Golazo Europa League Final preview begins right now. After a season full of drama and excitement, a Europa League champion will be crowned on Wednesday, May 26th. European juggernauts Manchester United are looking to make room in their crowded trophy cabinet for yet another edition. Meanwhile, Spain's Villarreal are competing in their first ever European final as they look to write their name in the history books and secure a spot in next season's Champions League. You can watch the match via Paramount Plus in the CBS Sports app. It's the Europa League Final. Villarreal against Manchester United at Gdansk Stadium in Poland this Wednesday. Jimmy Conrad in the house. Jimmy C., how are you, my friend?
What's up, LME? What's up, everybody? I missed you guys. It's been a couple days for me since I've been on the show, so I'm excited. Obviously, we are here at the finish line of a very big tournament, and I can't wait to get into it.
Absolutely. Jimmy, as you mentioned, we missed you, but good to have you back for a big one, the Europa League Final as Villarreal face Manchester United. By the way, we will have everything for you here. All the updates, the analysis, the predictions, betting tips, of course. We'll have Jonathan Johnson coming later to talk a little bit more about the side from La Liga and Unai Emery, of course. But we have to begin just setting the scene, Jimmy Conrad. This is it, the Europa League Final. Manchester United against Villarreal, a great side from La Liga against, obviously, one of the most important clubs in football history, to be honest, in Europe, of course. Jimmy, set the scene. Talk to me specifically about Man United. Let's begin there because obviously the Premier League runners-up in the table, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, taking them to the Europa League Final.
Yeah, this is their first cup final under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, so this is a big one, as you mentioned. Now, this isn't necessarily a trophy that I don't think when you start a season you think, you know what? Let's win the Europa League this season, everybody. Doesn't have that maybe gravitas that a Champions League trophy has. But once you get to the final, it ends up being a very, very big deal. So this is pretty monumental for Ole Gunnar in particular, especially because he had that semifinal curse where he couldn't get past the semifinals of any knockoff tournament. So here we are now. And this is actually, if they win this, could break the drought of them not winning a trophy for the last 5 seasons. And the last time they did was the Europa League in 2017. So this is a big deal for a lot of different reasons. The only 2 players left over from that 2017 team, if I'm not mistaken, is Paul Pogba and Marcus Rashford. So interesting. Now, let me give you some context about how Man United got here, okay? They started in the Champions League, and they were lights out the first 2 group stage games, everybody. They went to Paris and beat PSG. Then they smoked RB Leipzig at home 5-0. And all they needed to do was to beat Istanbul Başakşehir in Istanbul and then beat them at home in the second leg, in match day 4. And they couldn't do it on match day 3. They gave up a breakaway to Demba Ba from that guy's 65 years old and he gets a breakaway.
I thought he was like midfield. 74, Jimmy.
It's unbelievable. It's unforgivable. And I still can't believe that happened. And that kind of really turned the tide. And they ended up not winning the group when they were in pole position after the first 2 match days. That is still incomprehensible, but they get third. They fall into the Europa League, and since then they've been pretty good. They knocked out 2 La Liga teams along the way. They actually had the toughest draw, I thought, in the round of 32. They got Real Sociedad, took care of them 4-0 over 2 legs, and they had AC Milan and survived that 2-legged affair. Paul Pogba had an excellent goal coming on as a sub in the San Siro in match day 2, or the second leg for that one. Then they played Granada, the Cinderella of the Europa League, beat them 4-0 over 2 legs, and then they decided to whoop on Roma in leg 1 in the semifinals, 6-2. Then, since then, when they played leg 2, this is where it gets a little tricky. They've lost 3 out of their last 6, which started with them losing to Roma, 3-2. And in the second leg, that is. They still went through, and they had a mixed lineup. And I feel like ever since then, they had secured second place in the Premier League. They'd been knocked out of the FA Cup. They knew they were going to get through past Roma with that 4-goal lead. And it's been mixed lineup central for Manchester United since then. And it makes me a little bit nervous for them because There's not too many teams in the world that can just hit a switch and like, okay, now we'll decide to play. Now we're going to have our best guys. And if we look at those last 6, which included their 4-2 loss to Liverpool at home, I'm going to give a caveat here because they played 4 games in 7 days. And that is ridiculous at this level. That is something like youth kids play, right? And even youth kids are like, can we just stop playing games? We can't do it anymore. They don't even have any muscles. These youth kids are like, I can't even do it. My muscles are sore. Like, you don't even have muscles. So 4 games in 7 days for professionals is ridiculous. Okay. So we have to take all that into consideration. I think it's an important caveat. That said, when I look at the lineup that started against Liverpool, this was an opportunity to potentially knock out your biggest rival, one of your biggest rivals, out of the Champions League, which Liverpool did get in. Congratulations to them. This is the same lineup you're going to see most likely against Villarreal in the final, and they gave up 4 goals. Now, Dean Henderson started this one. I think David De Gea will probably start between the sticks for Man United, given his experience and all that good stuff, even though we could argue outside of this Liverpool game, Dean Henderson's been pretty good the second half of the season. And Harry Maguire is going to be out. He didn't actually play in the Liverpool game either. But they had Bailly and Lindelof starting. Since that game, LME, this is what gets me a little bit cause for concern. They haven't gone with Bailly and Lindelof since. And if you're going to build a rapport of your center backs that you want to start in a big final, you'd like to give them a run of games, I think, right? I mean, that's what I would do as a manager. So that made me a little bit nervous because it's been Lindelof, Tuanzebe, Bailly. And so what are you going to go with in the final? That is interesting because Villarreal can hurt you on the break.
Yeah, before you carry on, Jimmy, I just want to pause for a second and just focus on the importance of Harry Maguire not being part of this. Obviously, there's another conversation about what could happen for him at the Euros. We're thinking at this point that it might not even happen. But in terms of the Europa League final and what he means to Manchester United, played every single game up to that injury point as well. It's a big deal. And it's mainly not even, obviously we can talk about better center backs in the Premier League and in Europe. But, to your point, something that you always discuss, the leadership, right? Controlling the back line, making sure that the team is organized and seeing what's coming ahead, especially when they don't have the ball. Just how big is it for Harry Maguire not to be part of this in this final?
Well, as captain, obviously it's very big. They haven't performed well since he's been out, but as I mentioned before, there are some important caveats to take into consideration. What I'll say, when you're building rapport with a fellow center back or with your defensive midfielders in front of you, McTominay he's got a little bit of something injury wise. I think he'll end up playing. It's really important to understand where your passing lanes are, what decisions people make in high pressure situations, in split second decisions. Like when you're playing with a partner and you've played with them for 30 games, like Harry Maguire has put that time in, you know exactly what he's going to do in almost every single situation. So you know how to cover as the other center back, or you know how to cover if you're Luke Shaw and you're the outside back. You know how to block the passing lanes if you're McTominay and Fred, based on where Maguire has his strengths and weaknesses. Obviously, you can't play too high of a line with Maguire because he'll get played over the top. But with Tuanzebe, Bailly, you're just going to play a little bit different with those guys there. Or if Lindelof, even if this is the craziest part, and I know it just feels like I'm getting in the weeds here, but we're talking about a cup final where all these little things matter. When Lindelof, who usually plays the right center back position, now has to move over to the left side so that Bailly can make room on the right side, that changes things. Lindelof isn't as comfortable because now he's moved over 10 yards. Excuse me, I just hit my mic. Over 10 yards. And now he's a little bit more on his left foot. So his passing out of situations is going to be different. And that's going to impact the team. There's these little ripple effects that happen.
And he's the left-sided. Sorry to interrupt, but Harry Maguire is also he plays on the left side. He's right-footed, but his relationship with Luke Shaw is so important as well. It's a big deal.
It is a very big deal. So for him not to be in is detrimental to the team, I think, in a lot of different ways. Now there is still rumors that he could possibly do it, and we saw this with Sergio Ramos. Just because you can play, if you're not actually match fit, it doesn't necessarily mean that's going to help the squad either. And we saw that for Real Madrid against Chelsea in the Champions League, the semifinal, Leg 2. He just didn't look like he was on the pace. And you have these really young, quick, fast guys that are running right at him, and he just can't keep up. And I feel like Harry Maguire, he hasn't been out as long as a Sergio Ramos in this particular instance, but he's been out. And do you risk that? Do you put out a 80%, maybe even less, 75%, 70% Harry Maguire because of all the things that I'm talking about? or do you put somebody in who's 100% fit? At that point,
it's going to be less than 70%. I mean, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer last week was like, he's not even running yet. So,
he's not playing. But,
So let's move up the team here. Let's talk about the midfield and then pushing up. You mentioned that you should see everything else pretty much writes itself, right? Bruno Fernandes, of course, in there. Scott McTominay should be okay. Fred as well, and then we're looking to think about that trio. Anthony Martial also will not be part of this. So obviously, you would think that Cavani will spearhead this, up front. Is that what you think?
Oh, 100%. Cavani has been lights out. 9 goals in his last 11 games. He has been on fire. And I feel like maybe he's come, and it's interesting. I bring some of the off the field stuff for on the field, but when you're settled as a player and you're starting to find peace, like I don't know if he really wanted to stay at Manchester United. There had been rumors of him going to Boca Juniors, which as a Boca fan, I would have been totally all for. But there were, he hadn't made up his mind about what he wanted to do. And then once he signed that deal, or once it was they probably made it official a couple of weeks after it was agreed upon. But once you could sense that he started to shift and he bought in, like, I'm here now. This is my squad. He has been fantastic since then. So yes, Cavani's definitely leading the lines. Bruno Fernandes gets a goal or an assist every single time he steps on the field, especially in the Europa League. So he's going to be playing. My big concern is Marcus Rashford. I love him. I love Marcus Rashford. I just don't know if he's always that comfortable on the right side cutting in. I actually think that Mason Greenwood has been a little bit more effective on that, coming from right to inside, because he gets on his left foot a little bit more. But because you got to get Pogba on the field as well, and you want him a little bit higher, he can be some of that connective tissue to help transition the team. He goes from left to right. I think Rashford's actually better on the left side, but he's got to make room for that and Pogba. So I don't know if this team is completely as efficient as it could be, but you got to have all these talented world-class players out there at the same time. And it feels a little unfair to Mason Greenwood because he's been playing pretty well, but he could be a nice super sub off the bench.
Yeah. Before we bring in Jonathan Johnson, before we take a break and bring in Jonathan Johnson to discuss Villarreal and Unai Emery as he reaches yet once again another final of the Europa League, but this is Villarreal's first. Before we do that, how important, Jimmy, is it for Manchester United? Because European Super League, the issues with the Glazer family, reaching the Champions League second, very well done for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. But how important would it be to get this trophy, just to at least soothe, I guess, the tension throughout Old Trafford?
I think it would be immense. I don't know if the disdain for the ownership is ever going to change. Trophies help, but I just think they help for a little while. It's a salve that only lasts for a short time with the fans, because they can see they're it's a long-term play for the fans. They're in it for the long haul, and they remember things. And as they should.
Mourinho won it, right? And then look what happened to him. Right?
Exactly. But I think with regard to the respect that we should be showing Ole Gunnar, it would continue to drive the narrative, at least from our perspective, because we always give a guy the hard time, that maybe he's better at this than we think he is. And I want to give up one stat really quick to prove that. With their win against Wolves, and you guys probably talked about it on the weekend, they went undefeated away from home in the Premier League for the first time since Arsenal did it in their invincible season in 2004.
That's remarkable. Yeah.
And that demonstrates a few things for me. One, he's got a team that knows how to cope with adversity. He has a team that knows how to deal with issues and knows how to prepare. And that's not always down to the players. That's a manager putting his team in good spots to win games and to get results away from home. And that mindset, I think, bodes well to having an away game for this final. Had this final been at Old Trafford, I'd be like, I don't know, Villarreal might get this one. But because it's away from home, they have been excellent in every single facet of this outside of that one game in Istanbul. How do you give up a breakaway to Demba Ba? I'm not going to let it go, LME.
Especially because he's so old.
He's so old.
No, very, very good point. Really good points there, Jimmy Conrad. And by the way, don't go anywhere, because Jimmy, obviously you're probably asking yourself, where are the betting tips? Well, they're coming, everybody. Calm down, because there isn't just one team in this game. Villarreal, a tremendous club, finally in the Europa League final with Unai Emery, and we'll have Jonathan Johnson coming in to just give us a little bit more perspective, and then all the betting tips goodness will come in. Qué Golazo Europa League final preview. We'll be right back. Hey, Qué Golazo listeners, I wanted to let you know about what's on CBS Sports HQ this week. As always, CBS Sports HQ is the network to start your sports news day at 8 a.m. Eastern with Morning Buzz, an hour of highlights, news, and all the day's need to know. And come back or leave us on all day at 6 p.m., where we break down all the night's action and release dozens of picks from the best analysts and cappers in the sports world. But this week, baby, this week is all about the action across the pond. HQ, you can find it playing 24/7, 365 for free in the Blue CBS Sports app on your connected TV. Has 2 hours of lead-in programming ahead of both the Europa League Final Wednesday and the Champions League Final on Saturday. And after the matches conclude, don't leave the app, as HQ will have extended coverage of both matches, breaking it all down with the best soccer minds out there. Like I said, go to your Roku, Apple TV, Fire TV, really most connected TVs, and look for the CBS Sports app. Fire it up, check out HQ, and hell, tell us what you think about it on Twitter, please. That's how confident I am you'll love the way we break down the beautiful game and all of your favorite sports. Welcome back, everybody, to Qué Golazo Europa League Final Preview with Jimmy Conrad, of course. And joining us now, Jonathan Johnson. JJ, how are you, my friend?
Hey there, guys. Doing very well, thanks. And yourselves? Everyone happy that Lille won the title over PSG? I know Jimmy must be loving it.
Of course. I am thrilled that an American international, Timothy Weah, won the Liga title. So that's big news.
Absolutely. Well done, Lille. But this is the Europa League Final Preview, and JJ is here to give us the lowdown on Villarreal, El Submarino Amarillo, the Yellow Submarine, and see what they can. Oh, and Jimmy, I just realized, if you're watching on YouTube, man, he changes those shirts so quick, Jimmy. Looking good. Looking good.
I'm just here to support the winner, okay, everybody?
Yeah, exactly. Flavor of the week, this guy.
Let me go get my Lille jersey really quick. I'll be right back.
Well, I was going to say, you need a ref jersey then, I guess, depending on what happens. But anyway, Jonathan Johnson, welcome, my friend. And with you, I wanted to get some info on Villarreal. Basically, just their overall journey, making it here, and just the expectations, lineups, etc. So, JJ, take it away. Talk to me a little bit about the Yellow Submarine.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, I think when we were looking at potential routes to the final, when you know that Unai Emery is the coach of a team in the Europa League, there's almost an expectation that they're going to get to the latter stages, if not the final itself. So, I think that has taken care of itself. And I think it was quite poetic as well that Villarreal, got to the final at the expense of Arsenal. I think that must have been quite a cathartic moment for Emery. And now, obviously, it's a big challenge for him. Again, going up against a team that he's familiar with after his time with the Gunners in Manchester United. But the one thing that I would say is that sort of up until that Arsenal clash, I think Villarreal probably got what many people would feel was the more favourable route towards the final. I think a Roma might have given them more problems. Then again, the way that Roma kind of collapsed against Manchester United, maybe they wouldn't have. I think it's certainly, something that Emery is going to be motivated for this final. The last time that he was in a Europa League finals with Arsenal, but they lost out to Chelsea. So he's got the 3 titles to his name, 1 runners-up medal. And now it's the question of whether he's going to end up with 4 winners' medals or another runner-up medal to go with it, which, sort of would be more in keeping with where his career has been since leaving PSG and the silverware that he picked up there. So it's, I look as well at the way that Villarreal finished the La Liga season, because it felt like a couple of months ago we were talking them up as potential Champions League contenders, and then they've fallen away and they've got that Europa Conference League spot that's tied up depending on the results, obviously, in the Europa League final. So for me, it feels like it was a bit of a wasted opportunity these last couple of months. And I have to say, looking at it, it reminds me of some of the problems that some of the French clubs face when they're trying to balance continental and domestic duty. I just don't think that Villarreal have that strength in depth needed at this moment in time to compete on both fronts.
Yeah, no.
I was just going to jump in and say that Villarreal, to your point about the Conference League, I mean, they have to win this game to get Champions League next year. There's a different type of urgency, I think, and desperation that Villarreal can lean into a bit that maybe Manchester United doesn't have. And we've seen since Manchester United knew they were going to beat Roma in the second leg and knew they secured second place in Champions League football for next season, they had a bit of a drop-off. And yes, I know they played a lot of games in a short period of time, and that's going to be expected that there's not going to be that. And they mixed up a lot of lineups. Villarreal, though, had a lot of must-win games, to JJ's point, and didn't do the job either. So that makes me a little bit nervous. However, because of that desperation, because they have a chance to sneak into the Champions League, going through the back door of the Europa League final, and because of Unai Emery's experience, it's really hard to go against these guys. And we'll get into the bets in a second, but it's really heavily favored to Manchester United. And I think there's some great value for the Yellow Submarine.
No,
there
is absolutely right. Go ahead, Jay.
There is also motivation on United's side, given Solskjaer's flaky history when it comes to finals. He'll also be super motivated to get that weight off of his chest as well, I think.
Yeah, let's focus a little bit on Villarreal's squad for a second. This week, La Selección La Roja, Luis Enrique did put out his Spanish side for the Euros. No Real Madrid players, actually, for the first time in the history of the squad. But Villarreal, well represented. Pau Torres, a fantastic center back. Moreno as well. Talk to me a little bit about this squad, JJ, because I'm looking at it. And you know what? No Harry Maguire. Sometimes they can be defensively vulnerable. They can do some damage here, don't you think?
Yeah, they absolutely can. I think Moreno has been one of the in-form attacking players throughout the season in Spain. There's a lot of speculation about a number of the players also in this squad. Whether this group is going to be broken up similar to the way that many people are expecting that Lille will be picked apart at the end of this season. But I also look at it and, I do like the fact that there's a fair few quite experienced heads as well. You've got the likes of Raul Albiol. You've got Carlos Bacca, you've got Etienne Capoue. Those guys have been around and experienced quite a lot. So there is this nice mix, of young emerging talent and some very experienced guys. Paco Alcacer as well, another guy who has seen a fair bit during his time and also knows how to find the back of the net. So I think that this is It's an underrated squad, in my opinion. There's been some smart additions to it. I think it's been quite interesting to see how Juan Foyth has sort of re-emerged as a talent after he was largely forgotten at Tottenham Hotspur. And I think that overall, I think that there's less star names in this squad than there is in the Manchester United squad, but there's equally a lot of talent. And I feel that it's more united, the Manchester United's team. There's less sort of individualism.
So JJ, talk to me about Samuel Chukwueze, who's not going to be playing in this one, unfortunately, because I feel like he provides a dynamic that maybe Villarreal won't have, and maybe they don't have the same type of balance, because you could have Chukwueze on one side and Gerard Moreno on the other, and have Bacca up top or Paco Alcacer to kind of be the pivot number 9 up high. How do you see Villarreal kind of countering this? Because I think without Harry Maguire, Chukwueze really could have taken advantage of maybe some of that space that's going to be open.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think he'll be a big miss. But the thing with Unai Emery is, he doesn't really like to stray away from the tried and tested formulas that he's gone with over the past. And I think, if anything, what his time with Arsenal taught him, and his time with PSG as well, is that he has certain methods that succeed in certain competitions, and his preference for 4-2-3-1 works well in Spain, and it also works well at this level in the Europa League as well. So obviously, in that sort of setup, you require two very pacey, incisive wide men in the attack. So obviously, Chukwueze missing out, will take a bit away from the attack. But I also feel that Emery will feel that his players know the way that this system works by now, and they still have enough firepower, to go up against quite a vulnerable United defense, and have some success there. I mean, I think we saw in the 2 legs of the semi-finals, Solskjaer was experimenting a bit with his defense, trying to bring Eric Bailly, back into contention, and it just seems like it's been a bit too late in the day for him to make too many changes, because there seems to be that uncertainty there. And I think that Villarreal, with the attacking talent that they have, even minus Chukwueze, they can still hurt this United side. So for me, I think the danger for Villarreal is that Emery tries to overcompensate too much for such an absence and changes the system.
let's not forget, everybody, that Villarreal did not lose a single game in this Europa League tournament. I mean, granted, as Jimmy mentioned earlier, and JJ, of course, the journey was not as, difficult as Manchester United, perhaps. But, that there's something to be said about that, especially when you're competing in La Liga week in, week out. But to Jimmy's point, Villarreal really need this if they want Champions League. That's it, really. That's really the bread and butter for everything. All right, let's get into it. Let's talk about betting predictions now. Let's talk betting tips. Everybody listening right now, they've got their phones out, their notes out. Jimmy Conrad, I feel
the pressure
Jimmy.
Is too much. Woo!
But Jimmy,
it got hot in here. It just got really hot in here.
I know it did. You can switch your shirt off again if you want.
No,
to.
You know what? I'm going to put on my gambling hat.
Love it.
I got my bookie hat on. I'm ready to go.
Oh my God, you look so good. All right, listen, Jimmy.
I want to start with JJ's. Not necessarily your betting lines. I'll provide those, JJ. But what do you think the score is going to be after 90 minutes? I'm kind of curious after you've given this breakdown of Villarreal.
That's a really good question. I think it's going to be tighter than many people expect, especially after the blowout of goals between United and Roma in that semi-final. For me, I can see this being quite evenly poised, sort of a 1-1. I don't think it's going to be sort of a 2-2, 3-3, but I'm tempted to go for 1-1. But something else that I wanted to add on Villarreal before we get into the betting, I don't know if it's going to play into anything that Jimmy's going to say. Villarreal have this reputation. It kind of reminds me a bit of Bayer Leverkusen in Germany, where they're like the nearly guys. They've been runners-up in La Liga. They've been runners-up in the Champions League, which I think many people forget because it's quite a while ago now. But, they have this history of getting fairly far in some of these important competitions, but never quite being able to go all the way.
Yeah,
you're talking about Bayer Leverkusen, right? That's why they're called that.
Exactly.
Never Real.
They're very same.
Never Real.
I got it for you guys. Nunca Real. Nunca Real. Nunca Real. All right, listen, everybody. Listen, Jimmy, before you give me betting tips, just a few. Villarreal and Manchester United.
Aston Villarreal.
Hey, listen, I can't help it. When you read it, it's the same thing. Villarreal and Manchester United will face for the 5th time, with each of the previous meetings finishing 0-0. So there's something to think about there. Villarreal have reached a major European final for the first time in their history. We know that, but becoming the 11th different Spanish side on each of the last 9 occasions of a Spanish side facing English competition in a European competition. The last to lose was Alaves against Liverpool in 2000 and 2001. So usually Spanish sides do okay. Manchester United would be the 9th side in 22 seasons to win the UEFA Cup / Europa League, having been eliminated in the group stages of the UEFA Champions League that season since this method was first introduced in 1999-2000. So just a few little informations. Jimmy, William Hill's going all out on United, aren't they?
Oh my, it's unbelievable how heavy they are as favorites, -120. So for everybody new to the American betting system, you have to bet 120 if it's minus, but it's -120, bet 120 to win 100. On the flip side, Villarreal to win straight up is +360. So you bet 100 to win 360. The draw is +240 after 90 minutes. I'm leaning towards what you said, JJ. I do think this will be tight. I do think that Villarreal demonstrated, especially against Arsenal in the second leg, that they know how to bend without breaking, that they know how to survive and suffer a little bit, which seems to be that Atletico Madrid won a league in La Liga this past season. Congratulations to them for suffering, right? Very Diego Simeone-esque. But to your point, maybe, I don't know. So what would kind of about the Leverkusen, Nunca Real, I do think that maybe there's a draw after 90 minutes. I could see a 1-1, and then their hearts are broken in extra time. I think that could be the way this is all going to play out. So I like that a lot. I think the draw and under 2.5 goals is +310. And that speaks to me. You could get that 0-0, which would continue the history of them always drawing 0-0 every time they play. I do want to give a shout to Edinson Cavani. In this season for the Europa League, he has got a goal or an assist every 35 minutes. That's what he's averaging right now. That is ridiculous. So him to score anytime is +130. Him to be the first Manchester United player to score in this game, +230. I like that one a lot. Gerard Moreno, 23 goals and 7 assists in La Liga this season. He has been lights out. Him to score anytime is +140. You can get a lot of value here for a lot of different ways. Now, I did have one other prop that I wanted you to look at. It was the match result in both teams to score. So the draw and both teams to score is +370. I just feel like the draw and the under at plus 310 gives you a little bit better value because you get the 0-0 and the 1-1. So that's just something to take into consideration. I think this is going to be a draw. I don't think you can sleep on Unai Emery. To your point, Luis, they had 14 games in the Europa League this season. They've won 12 of them and drawn 2. That is ridiculous. So why would that just go away and just disappear because things might not look great on paper at the moment, or whatever it may be, or whatever narrative you want to build as to why you think Manchester United's going to win? I don't think you can sleep on Villarreal and Unai Emery, but you can never sleep on Spanish teams in this competition. They love winning the Europa League.
Yeah. Now, listen, it's very difficult for me to disagree with both of you because in my head, I'm like, can this be done in 90 minutes? I don't know, because when I look at the resume, or at least the past few matches of Villarreal, they keep things very tight. You know, whenever the red card is not involved, because they've had a few games where red cards have been involved. They thrashed Sevilla when Sevilla got a red card for nothing, and then they lost to Celta Vigo when both teams as well got red cards as well. And in that game, the Villarreal Arsenal game, they won 2-1, albeit those red cards came in a little late. So if things stay, talk to me about the bookings. Is that what you were going to say?
No, well, I could go there. I wanted to, if you guys had anything you wanted me to look at, I can do it quickly for you. But there was one more I wanted to say. Come from behind to win or draw, Manchester United plus 390. I could see that. I could see Villarreal scoring first.
I was going there.
Cover that. Plus 390 is really good value, everybody.
There are two things that I'm going for. Villarreal scores first, United equalize, and then they win it late. And it's 2-1, 90 minutes. Thank you. Good night. The other one is the one that you guys just discussed. It's going to be tight, very difficult. Pau Torres, Albiol make a good partnership. I think they can do enough to control Cavani. Bruno Fernandes is the one that I worry about. Will Capua get in trouble early on? I don't know. And then it takes it to extra time, and then United win. So it's one of those two. I'm trying to figure out which one. I don't know. Do I be boring? And I just, Bruno
to score anytime is plus 130. So he's the same value as Cavani right now. Let me see about getting an assist. Go ahead, JJ. What do you got?
I mean, surely this is queued up for Paul Pogba to score a winning goal in the final yet again.
Yeah,
that's true. Let me look at Pogba is not even in the top 5. Let's see. Paul Pogba to score anytime plus 400.
The Souness special.
Plus 400. Paul Pogba to score anytime plus 400. That's not a bad shot.
We're also disrespecting Moreno too, as well. I think a little bit here. No, what about if he scores the winner, or if he scores anytime?
Scoring anytime for Gerard Moreno's plus 145. For him to be, they give you these weird ones where you can like the first home goal scorer. So to be the first player to score for Villarreal, and I can't find it at the moment. I'll look that up. I looked at Edinson Cavani to score a header plus 850. I was like, what? Of a lot of cross. Yeah, isn't that a crazy value?
Yeah.
So there's some crazy stuff here. Gerard Moreno to score first for his team plus 180, and then if you wanted Bruno Fernandes to get an assist plus 190. I like that too.
All right.
There's a lot here.
I know.
Just pick and choose. It's a buffet, everybody. You just pick what you want.
What? I think I'm going to go with Villarreal. I'm just going to go with him. I think the urgency that they need, I think no Harry Maguire. I think Moreno will want to make a statement. Unai Emery is the king of this. Let's do it. Let's go. 1-1.
Oh, you're saying 1-1. Got it.
No, okay, fine. Well, what is it if Villarreal win in 90 minutes 2-1?
2-1. It's plus 360 for that to happen. But if you want both teams to score and adding that in to kind of elevate the prop.
Yeah, 2-1.
Then match result and both teams to score plus 700 for you.
Yep, let's do it. Boom.
Wow.
Submarino.
Large. Look at this guy.
I know. I'm going to be wrong.
What are you going with?
United's going to win. All right. Well, that's it. That's our Europa League final preview. Final thoughts. Jonathan Johnson, the mic is yours.
Yeah, well, I'm actually really curious to see who wins this one in the end, because if United are victorious, that's big news for the French Champions League coefficient, because that will send Monaco directly into the group stage, which I think is going to be a big thing for Ligue 1 next season, because I'm expecting this Lille squad to get picked apart. Now they've confirmed the title, and I think it'll be PSG and Monaco who will be the two stronger teams in the Champions League group stage if United win.
Wow, that's big. That's big for Liga. Absolutely. And by the way, that was crazy, Liga, when Lyon fell apart there at the end. That was crazy. Crazy stuff. So that's a good piece of stat. All right, Jimmy Conrad, final thoughts.
Yeah, I just think this really will speak to the legacy that Ole Gunnar leaves at Manchester United. I know that might feel overly dramatic, but he needs to win a trophy. It's great that he's done all these things. You can tell the team is moving in the right direction, but if you don't have trophies to show for it at the end of the day, then did it even actually happen, right? You got to have some hardware to go with all the success you might be having, or making these incremental steps. And then obviously if they win, I think it's going to be easier for them to recruit another player or two to continue to push in the right direction. So I think there's a lot at stake here for Manchester United, and a lot of off the field ways as well.
100%. Well, that was it. Your Europa League preview, which, by the way, the Europa League final, you can watch on CBS Sports as well. And we got the Champions League final coming up later this week. Jonathan Johnson, thank you so much, my friend.
Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure as always.
Thank you so much, Jimmy Conrad.
Thank you, everybody.
Hey, everybody. I want to thank Jimmy Conrad and Jonathan Johnson for joining me today. Don't forget that you can follow us on Twitter, Qué Golazo Pod. Please leave a question, comment, tweet us, tag us. We are right there on Twitter. Also on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Apple Podcasts. Leave a 5-star rating and review. We're on Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube. You can watch every single episode and much more on youtube.com/Qué Golazo. We're also on CBS Sports and your CBS Sports app. Have a great day and enjoy the final.